Alert. Excuse me. Alert, alert, alert. Have information right here to add on to the realist news. I don't know, the camera's a little whack, but work with me, people. Just so you can't read that. It says realist news. Fort Calhoun nuclear incident and recent webbot information. Now, I don't know anything about the webbot. I don't know anything about this webbot, but he always gives this information about this webbot and what they do and what they say, as some kind of predictor or something like that. Okay, well, that's great. I'm going to be the webbot now, and I'm going to do some predicting. All right. First, though, for those of you who aren't in the know, in Fort Calhoun, which is in Nebraska, there's a nuclear power plant which sits along a river in Missouri. It sits along the Missouri River. Better said. So basically, this river has been flooding and has flooded the floodplain which this nuclear power plant was built on. This year we've had over 83 feet of snowpack in the mountains, in the northern states, like Montana, and in Canada. Over 83 feet because we had a crazy winter where it was just, acting dumb and just snowing like crazy. And then we had a light spring where the western half of the country was really, really mild and still is mild. I live in California, by the way. Really, really mild. So we haven't had the hot summers. We've had really mild temperatures. But on the East Coast, y'all been burning like crazy. And right in the middle, when the hot meets the cool, they've been having tornadoes because when hot meets cool, that causes tornadoes and violent thunderstorms and crap like that. So there you have the climate of the day. Now, and we've had a lot of rain in the Midwest, and therefore the ground was already saturated. So now, since we had a mild spring and the snowpack didn't melt as it would have normally, it's just now starting to melt. And it's going to melt onto ground that is already saturated. Therefore, the water won't absorb into the land. What it's going to do is flood up, and that is why we have the floods. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to let him talk for a second, and I'm going to go back and we're going to do some analyzation, and I'm going to be a webbot, and I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen if there is not any intervention. Okay? So pay close attention because this is going to affect everyone south of the U.S. and to the east of the U.S. So pay attention. Call me a nut if you want to, but I was right about Fukushima. Everybody told me it's not coming over here, but we're sitting here drinking radiated water. And the EPA changed the level so they can continue to lie every day and say that the levels aren't past dangerous levels. But those in the know better. That's why we're drinking purified water and filtered water and water that we didn't get out the tap. Because if you do, you're going to start to glow pretty soon, okay? But I digress. Let's go back to this. Now, let's check it out. Let's check him out for a second.
Off of 9/11 and make it happen as a conspiracy, right? Just so they can get filthy rich. That's just disgusting. insurance claim. So when those buildings went down, they gave him his insurance claim of like $1 point something billion, and he said no. That clause that I had changed, of course, in advance, states that each individual attack, which there was 2 towers that collapsed, 2 planes crashed into there, therefore 2 different terrorist attacks happened. I want double my funds, and I think it had to go to court briefly, and he won. And I don't know if they settled or whatever. Long story short, he got his money, $2 point something billion on that. So there's proof right there that there's people who know these things and will greatly profit off of death simply for profit. So with no further ado, let me read this latest from Fukushima, Japan radiation nonsense. Japan is reporting that Fukushima nuclear fuel has burned through the containment vessel, as we all said it would, and is sitting on the concrete foundation of the plant, leaking into the groundwater. TEPCO, which by the way is a WebBot hit from last year, I believe, sometime, where they talked about air contamination somehow, along with the same type of contamination getting into the water system, drinking water and that kind of thing, into aquifers and things of that nature. I thought to myself, what could do that? You know, maybe it was an oil spill and the core exit crap that they're pouring in there gets sucked up in the atmosphere through evaporation and then pours down. That's what made sense to me at the time, but nothing ever came of it. So, okay, this makes sense. Anyways, TEPCO says an underground barrier needed to stop molten lava from spreading in underground water will cost too much and will hurt their stock price. Hiroki Kyoto, whatever, an assistant professor at the Kyoto University, says melted fuel from inside the reactor has melted through the containment vessel and is lying on the concrete foundations, sinking into the ground below. Japanese government officials have echoed this statement and have called upon TEPCO to build an underground concrete barrier beneath the reactor, which would be the only way to stop the molten fuel that is now leaking into the groundwater. TEPCO, so far, is refusing to do this because the cost of the project will be over 100 billion yen. TEPCO is debating whether containing the radiation is worth more than its stock price, resisting calls to build the barrier because agreeing to the plan would make the company appear to have excess liabilities, which would in turn cause their stock price to drop.
Do you see the look on his face? That's classic look. Because that's how I feel every time that I hear more and more information about how corrupt my government is. When I never had a clue that they were so corrupt. Like, I'm totally sold out on the U.S. I'm like God and country. That was me. My father was in the military for 30 years, so I'm a military brat. So I'm like, oh my God, are we really living in the Matrix? Yeah, we're living in the Matrix. And it's time for you sheeple to pull the plug and take the red pill. Because this mess is crazy. The first item he said, why would anybody do it for profit? Because I've found out through my Matrix research that there's people just that ruthless. There's people just that gangster. You know what I mean? I'm here in California, and you go through a city like Compton and be like, dang, that place is gangster. No, this is more gangsterish. They're more gangsterish right there. Who would do such a thing? Who does that, as they say? Gangster. That's what that is. All right, number 2. The information that he was just talking about, saying that it's going to cost too much to build the undergirdings to stop the nuclear waste from spilling through, from basically eating through the metal, to build something underneath to stop it or slow it down if you can't stop it. Do something. Anything you can do to stop it from digging in the earth. You know, they talking about it's too much money to do that. Well, guess what? If you don't do it, it's too much money. Goofy. If you don't do it, you're not going to be around to have money. Dummy. I'm going to use the words of one of the dudes that I just found that was, Patriot dudes. What was his name? Black Patriot or something like that. He said, clown. These people are clowns. We're not going to stop containing it because it might cost us too much money. Okay, dummy, don't you realize that if you don't stop it, your whole area is going to be nuclear and you can't even do nothing in the area if you don't stop it? Ignorant. Clown. Stupid. All right, and then I believe he's going to go into this Fort Calhoun thing just now. If he's not, I'm going to fast forward him a little bit.
Am I dreaming right now?
No, you're not dreaming.
Am I really awake right now? Am I really alive on the
You're awake,
2011?
but the rest of the clowns aren't.
It can't be real.
It can be real,
I thought that.
and it is real, and better yet,
I want to read this from the webbot.
it's worse.
Guy, Cliff, his website, isn't it?
Let me pass
Regarding
forward.
the United States, or more importantly, this crap over Nebraska, Missouri River, whatever. So,
Here we go.
more distressing is that the fog is described as obscuring the details, and he has of the restraints question mark, and limiting the view of the developing disaster. Please note it is a bad sign when our data sets have such bespoke, nasty words as disaster. Further disturbing words include isolation and humiliation of attendees and not good news that must be absorbed.
I'm going to give you some not good news that's going to be absorbed. And I only got a short time to do it because this time be running out too quick.